powerful revelation God just gave me on communication. I found out the power of communication. What most women do to men. What most women do to men is they talk. A man will start telling you stuff. And out of her own nature to want to protect and cover and make sure everything's all right. And you got it. And I recognize you ain't going to lose nothing by just saying everything in 10 minutes. And then I'll be able to listen to you afterwards. But she'll jump in and cut him. Now, generally when she jumps in and cuts him, that starts another subject matter. So now he's angry because he has something he wants to say that he didn't say yet. A. B is you cut me before I was able to say what I wanted to say. Now B is we start this new subject matter on something you're perceiving that is wrong and I'm not in and I'm angry at that. So now, I know for a fact we can't communicate. And I'm mad. And now even if you want to hear me again, I start going back into this conversation with the residue of this. So now I'm telling you the rest of my conversation, but I got a little attitude. So yeah, so what I was basically saying was that and that is a revelation that he needs to be heard. And he needs to be heard to the degree that his perspective is clear. That he knows that he said everything he wanted to say and you didn't chop him down. He needs to be heard completely without you jumping in and you have not hearing his clear perspective on a subject matter. After he says what he says, because you're able to hear him fully and his perspective is clear. Watch this now. He now receives you as the helpmeet. So a woman has to fight against her own desire to chop him down and cut him off and not hear him out clearly. Because that man needs to know that you heard what I need to say, that my perspective is clear. And a good functioning man, after it's out, he is willing to let you dish in. And what generally would take, you know, and when you put this to work practice, you'll see it. You know that this one is going to be a little hot. So we may talk about this for 45 minutes. Now what would take 45 minutes, and this happened with me and Prophet, what would generally take, I thought was going to take 45 minutes and then 2 hours of steaming off. Going back in the car with a fake smile. So I can go high and get it off of me. Took about 13 minutes of conversation. 13 minutes later, the solution came. After I put out, and it was like natural for me. What's natural? After I put out, it was natural for me to receive. And it was then when I traced it, I said, this only happens because every time I may speak at times, my perspective isn't clear. So I feel like she's doing me injustice because you're not hearing me out fully. How can you tell me something and you're taking a half of a thought? That's not the whole thought. You're doing me injustice now. You're perceiving me through a wrong eye. And I feel you're not being fair.
Women want our husbands to, we want to know how they feel. But when they start to tell us their feelings, because we, in their feelings, it may make us feel insecure for the moment. We chop them because they're supposed to always sound strong. So when they start telling us their feelings, and it may sound a little weak, we get insecure because they're our strong tower. So then we say, what do you mean? That doesn't make sense. But what happens is, what the Lord was telling me is that when we allow them to express their feelings, which we cry out for so much, once we allow them to express their feelings logically, that's when their logic and their feelings have come together, and they're just like us now. So they've been logically able to tell us exactly how they feel. And so we allow them to we let them express themselves. Once they express themselves, then their logic say, now I'm open to hear what you have to say now. But when you don't allow a man, and so then if we keep on cutting them, and I did it for years, kept on cutting. Well, that doesn't make sense. But what do you mean? And trying to just help him quick it and stop it, because I didn't want to feel insecure. Like you ain't strong because you said you feel discouraged or whatever you may feel. So you cut real quick. But what happens is when we say, well, tell us how you feel. They've been trying to tell us how they feel. And we keep cutting them. And so what happens is I had to learn. I said, okay. And it was funny because he was talking. And he talked about a good 7 minutes. And normally I've been to cut him off when he got to like 3 minutes.
Oh, 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
Let's keep it real.
Keep it real, 90 seconds. Boy, it seemed like 3 minutes to me because that 90 seconds was long. So I sat there and I heard myself saying, when he'd say something, I say, but the Lord kept saying, be quiet, just listen. And he said some more stuff. And I heard myself when I said, but no, I kept hearing about the 15 seconds. I heard myself cut him off about 3 or 4 times. Because I wanted to help him, no, you sounding weak now, you messing me up. But I heard him out. And he had 15 minutes to say, blah, 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 blah. And I was just listening and everything. And every time I tried to cut him, the Lord said, if you cut him right here, this is what's going to happen. And I saw us arguing from me just cutting him. So I listened. I'm on the bike. And we sitting next to next, riding the bike. And I'm just rolling. He talking. I kept hearing myself cutting him off, though. But I said, I ain't going to cut him off. I'm going to listen. I even knew what I was going to say when he said what he said. And I even said, I'm going to come back to those points so I can let him know that he was messed up when he felt what he felt. I'm taking notes. We know I take notes. But at the end of the conversation, he said what he said, and he looked at me, and I said, okay, well, can I say this? I said about a sentence, and it was over. I said, my God. He said, you don't have to say no more. I got what you're saying. Just like that. I almost wanted to jump in that gym and start shouting. And it just let me know that I had been messing it up all these years if I'd have just shut my mouth. Because we want their feelings, but we're also afraid of their feelings. Because their feelings make us feel insecure when they're insecure. But if you let them express what they feel, they'll hear you. If you cut them off, they won't hear you.
Glory to God. That's powerful. And that's real, and that's just what it is. So yeah, and so we learn from that, and the revelation. And what's interesting was that at that moment, that's when she got her own revelation, and I got my own revelation, and we shared revelation in that exact moment of what both of us went through. And I want to say this too. And because of her natural ability to cut me off, it also caused me, as I started to express myself, to feel intimidated not to say everything I really felt. So I was fumbly. And so I'm not really being real to myself. I could have made a little bit more sense. I could have been a little bit more clearer. But I have to also feel that she can hear me out. You see? And so that was the beginning of it. And all that does is just birth the next time, me just really saying it how I want to say it, in the feeling that I feel it, and she can hear it, and knowing that we have this principle down, that I'm normal, here, I know God, and when you tell me and I get it, I got it. It's powerful stuff. It's powerful stuff.